let's talk about what you exactly said, because it's been quoted that you said that in some ways women are predatory too, that they have used feminine wiles to get stories, and in many ways, I think your words were sort of old and ugly backbenchers have been kind of...
Did I say that? Oh,
well,
dear.
you did. Well, apparently you did. Did you, Michael?
I probably did. It's a small point. The sexual harassment cases against women, we've got it reported, Andrea Leslie, is awful. It surprises me, and I don't expect to be surprised at my age. People do some awful things. That said, 2 points. One is, a lot of this is gossip. Fallon has denied what Leadsom is saying, so they can sort that one out between them. And a lot of people have denied. Damien Green, the Deputy Prime Minister, seemed to me not well treated this week, but we don't know. So we should let it sort out the facts from the fiction. The smaller point is that, come on, this is about power, men abusing power. But women have power too. Young women get quite cross when I say this, sexual power. And if you are that bald, elderly, middle-aged MP and you're taken out to lunch by a clever, funny, amusing, attractive young woman, of course they exploit it. After I made that remark, a friend of mine, veteran journalist, rang up and said, you're quite right, Mike. She said, there was an MP years ago. I knew he had a crush on me, and I exploited it. Nothing happened between us.
To get stories?
To get stories. Okay. Nothing happened between us. It's not the same as all the dreadful things have happened. There's a young woman in the Labour Party alleged rape, which was covered up. Shocking.
Yeah,
but
OK.
There's just a small factor.
Yeah, Daisy, you're young, beautiful, attractive and a successful journalist. Have you ever
compliment flattery will get you everywhere. Of course, that's the point. But, you know, I've known Mike for more than 20 years. I like him enormously, but he has just exhibited the exact problem in the House of Commons, which is rampant sexism and a total lack of respect for women. It's complete rubbish to say that, you know, female journalists use their wiles to get stories, and it's very, very insulting. If there's no fool like an old fool, and of course, a lot of MPs are very foolish and they don't know how to behave with women. But what Michael's doing is saying, you know, women get stories because they're women, and that is exactly the kind of sexism that women in Parliament have been trying to, get over for the last 50 years.
You don't recognise what Michael's describing as a journalist, whether it be a woman or a man, using all the weapons in their armoury to try and prize out some information from the person they're talking to, whether that means heavy journalistic questions or whether that means sort of flirting a little bit.
Yes, but what Michael's saying is that, you know, flattery coming from a young woman is different than flattery coming from a young man.
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that, Daisy.
You said that the young women in the lobby were predatory. And you implied that they get stories because of being women, and that is, you know, I cannot count the number of times that men in the lobby will kind of do this wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I wonder how she got that story. That's what I'm talking about. It's so insulting. Yes, that is what you were implying.
Clarify.
I'm saying we use what we've got. And the idea that highly educated young women who can look after themselves, tough young women like Daisy here, can't look after themselves with men who put their hands on their knees, is a bit surprising. And they also have weapons. They use them, and the middle-aged...
But I completely agree with you that journalists are very well equipped to look after themselves when these, you know, lecherous, dirty old men start groping them. And the point of this story is that two things have been conflated, which I think Michael would agree with. Journalists who are sort of whistleblowing on dirty old men in the Commons versus the young researcher, the young would-be MP who's being abused by a more powerful man. And that is sexual harassment, and the other is just old-fashioned groping and lecherous, nasty behaviour.
That's that second point about the young researchers is a very important point.
I suppose what we're talking about is the background, the scene setting. So there are, as Michael said at the very beginning, very serious crimes which under any circumstances should be addressed. And then there's an atmosphere. And at the moment, the atmosphere is painted as strong, predatory, inappropriate behaviour by men on innocent, vulnerable women. And what he's saying is, hang on a minute, is it always that way?
Yes, and that is true, but as we've just been reading, the vulnerable women aren't, on the whole, the journalists, because the journalists can, on the whole, look after themselves. But what the journalists are doing with the hashtag, with the Me Too, with trying to expose this behaviour, is, you know, showing solidarity with other women and saying these men are really badly behaved and it does need to end now. You know, that this is sort of dinosaur behaviour which must stop.
The young woman who went after Damien Green in the Times this week, I don't know her, you may do. The article was pretty thin, and Green denies it. He's a contemporary university of her mother. And it looked to the Daily Mail, which is no friend of Damien Green, he's a prominent Remainer, as if this was a very ambitious young woman who wanted to get on either in politics or in journalism, taking advantage of a situation where, ever since Harvey Weinstein, anyone's fair game. I tell you what it reminds me of, the paedophile stuff, where all sorts of dreadful things were said. Some of them were dreadful and true, but some of them weren't.
The treatment of that woman in the Daily Mail who did their typical absolute hatchet job on her, I don't know her.
Well,
it shows why women don't come forward about
so how
these
do we
issues,
move forward,
they don't want
Daisy?
to be slaughtered in the press.
How is it going to be resolved, and what is the answer? Is it as simple as saying, come on?
Well, in the Commons, you know, we all know why these MPs who have been abusing people within their own party haven't been called up, and it's because the whips find it much more valuable to know what these men are up to and to use it as blackmail or bribery to buy their loyalty. And that's the disgraceful bit of the whole system.
That's an old cliché, and I'm not really sure that it's true. I'm sure it happens
true.
occasionally.
You know it's true.
I'm saying I don't know. I'm not on television here to tell lies.